Hey, welcome back to Herrestored Spirit Podcast. My name is Tami, and we're going to dive into the power of why today because it's January, the most motivational month. Actually, by the time this comes out, it'll be February. So we just finished the most motivational month of the year. Motivation January, dry January, let's do this January, get healthy January, like break all of your habits and become a brand new person January. And I'm no different. I like the idea of the new start, the fresh sheet of paper. I love a clean calendar that you get to write things on and fill up. And we can have a fresh start, but it's a state of mind versus it is something we intentionally do. It's arbitrary. We can actually have a new start every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. We get to decide when this fresh start is. Shoot, if you really like that new calendar, like print out one every week or cut open so make it new every week, whatever you need to do. I actually have a calendar that I keep it empty until the day of. So I take everything from my digital calendar because I realize I need my digital calendar. It's with me all the time. I multiple calendars on there, multiple people's schedules. However, if I have I can't work from that daily. So then I have my calendar that I use daily, and that helps me have a fresh start every morning. It's not overwhelming. There's not too much on there. There's not too much clutter. But what I wanted to talk about today is with all of that, and you're sitting here, and if you're anything like me, you start with a lot of motivation. And remember, we talked about motivation and that willpower is 2 weeks long. The motivation comes after the actions. So if you've been doing it for those 2 weeks, great. You probably have a little bit of motivation and see, but it's still because that willpower is waning and the motivation and life starts coming at once the holidays, we got back to school and get into a new rhythm. You got spring sports that start in January. There's a lot of things that all of a sudden derail us, that come at us. And I've seen a lot of things about your understanding your why. And you have to understand and love your why more than the bad habit, the patterns, the habits, the things that you do, that if you want to break the habit, just focus on your why. And I want to stretch that a little bit more because I don't think that your why, well, let me say it this way, is I believe that your why is strong. I don't believe it's as strong as it could be. I think that a lot of times we stop at what we think is a strong why, and we stop, especially as a mom. My kids are, I get up and I teach them, I guide them, I want to show them. We've got to go deeper than that because we love our kids, we take care of our kids. But a lot of times that's not actually strong enough to get us and propel us out in the morning to do the thing that we're procrastinating, that we're numbing out, things that we want, those habits that we want to instill, the habits we want to break. And I don't think that it has, well, your why is an amazing why. And I don't think you've gone deep enough with that to really create that, like to bridge that to bridge that habit, that desire. And I don't want you to feel guilty and think, wow, do I really love my kids enough? Because I keep going back in the same cycles. I keep having that same habit. I don't love my family enough, or I don't want to get healthy enough. Your why is not the problem. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's what I want to share today. And is the fact that your why is not the problem. Your why is incredibly important. And I take my clients through this process to really dive into your why, the why behind the why behind the why. And and it's such a beautiful thing when you get to that core. And it absolutely has to do with those earlier whys, that those bigger things, your kids, your family, the people around you that's calling. But we've got to go deeper. Why is it so important? Why do, is it strong enough to push everything out of the way and you get up in the morning and you exercise? What is it about it that you want to share? Why do you choose oatmeal instead of the oatmeal cookies? Which this morning I chose an oatmeal cookie because it was right there and it was delicious. It had peanut butter in it, so there's some health. Oatmeal and peanut butter. All right. So it was somewhat healthy, right? And it's not because I don't love my kids or my health enough. Our habits are biological. Like they are not biological, they are ingrained, they are psychological. Our brains want to automate things. Your habits are automated. Your why is not automated. So when you wander and when you get stressed and when you're looking at your life and you're like, why is my why not strong enough? I love them, but why am I not able to break these bad habits? Why am I not able to remove these habits that I no longer want or that are no longer serving me, that are no longer getting me what I want? And why can't I add those habits that I desire so greatly? Why do I procrastinate, numb out, which we just talked about numbing out and procrastination in the last episode. And we talked about how we need to recognize them. We also need to recognize our habits for what they are. They're automations. Remember, our beliefs are they are the combination of our thoughts paired with emotions that we think over and over time, and that becomes a belief. You have a belief about those habits. I am trying to break some habits right now that are big ingrained, that they are so deep in who I am, and it causes procrastination. It causes me to numb out. It causes me to not do what I want. And it's not because my why is not big enough. It's not because I'm not in love with my why or because I don't identify with my why enough. Because believe me, I have a really strong why. And even let me share a little bit of my why, the deeper, because of course it's my kids. But then I look at women, and I don't want you to be controlled by your habits and your procrastination and your numbing out. I don't want you to play small when you have something deep inside of your heart, because when you do, the world suffers. My why is because if people do not do what God's called them to do, the world suffers. If I do not do what I'm called to do, the world suffers because God made us individually. He gave us a purpose and a calling. He put people around us that not only do we need them, but they need us. They need the strengths that God's put in our heart. They need our perspective. They need our life. They need our entertainment. They need our humor. They need our depth. They need our character. And we need that as well. So knowing your why is crucial, but don't link your why and your habits together. Your why is to help you create better habits, but it's not going to break your habits. And even if you have the willpower for a couple of weeks and you start to make that, but if you start to believe that your why is just not strong enough, that you're not in love with your why, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, I should be doing this, I should be breaking this habit, I shouldn't be eating this cookie. That's going to add more guilt and it's going to then prime in your brain It's going to automate the fact that you're not capable of breaking these habits. It's just, you're just not strong enough. It doesn't mean enough to you. And it's not true. It's not true. So knowing your why and going deep, like, why is your why important? And writing it out and really looking at it is crucial. But know that don't get into this mindset that if your why is not strong, if you don't identify with your why enough and you're not focusing on just your why, and if you do focus on your why, the habits will disappear. And I just want to remove some of that guilt and shame and that effort that you're placing and the meaning you're putting behind that, and let you know that there's more to it than just that. Having a strong why and knowing the why behind the why is so important. Love your why, but know that if that was, we would have gotten rid of our bad habits already, because you have a strong why. You have that deep desire, that knowing in your heart and in your gut and in your head that it's important. But our brains are working against us. Our brains want to keep us safe, not successful. And did you know that 80% of your success is decided by your thoughts, by the work that I do, by the who am I work, the let's look at the reason that you have the habit in the first place and know what you're getting from it. Because every habit you have is serving you, either good or bad. You get to decide. But know that 80% of the work, that means that 80% of the failure, that first attempt in learning, that not getting what you want, that which leads to procrastination and numbing out and guilt and shame, comes from this work. This is why it is not selfish to work on yourself, to understand the fears, your identity, your confidence, to understand how to build the confidence in you. This is why when you read hundreds of self-help books and you're motivated and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it, but then it doesn't actually change, it's because you haven't put those steps in place. You haven't rewritten those stories that are in your subconscious. That is stronger than your why. Those stories are. Know your stories. Fall in love with the healthy, true version of the stories and rewrite and get the heck out those cobwebs, those lies that are in your brain that are keeping you safe. So, Motivation January, and now we're into February. Understand that it's not that your why is not strong enough and that it's not that you're not trying your hardest. Effort does not lead to success. The stories, rewriting the things that you believe about yourself, will help you get success. I have a group starting really soon that this is where we go. This is what we tackle. We look at stories for what they are, and then we look at what truth is. What is God saying about yourself, about you? What are your strengths? Who are you? And what calling do you have? What is your why? What's your why behind the why behind the why behind the why? Because those are going to help us to see the lies that we have told ourselves for years. Those are the old stories that no longer are serving us. And then we're going to rewire those. Then we work together in a group, which there's something powerful when a group of women who say yes to themselves are all, and because we are creatures that we need connection. So you're like, Tammy, I don't want to deal with this in a group. And I have some of my group members who are going to come, who are going to share a little bit of their stories. And every one of them, not a single one of them, were excited about a group. Wait, I take that back. One person, she was. Everyone else, they were not. But at the end, they're like, I see why we're in a group. And when you were talking, I was healing. I saw my thoughts. I saw that I had the same thought. And when it's not true for you, it's also not true for me. I want so much for you to grow. I want so much for you to have that deep, dark dream inside of you. There's something that happens after 40 that all of a sudden, and actually, I found out that it's a biological, like a legitimate, a change. So I'm going to research that. That you're as you go into perimenopause, as your hormones change, this like something happens in your chemical makeup that says that you're not raising babies now. Your kids are grown, they don't need you the same way. So all of a sudden you have this urge to like, it can be about you. It can be like, it's now my turn to do something that is bigger than myself. And so that fascinates me. And that was a side tangent. I did not even expect to say that. So I don't have the notes in front of me with that. But I will talk more about that as I study it. But get in the group. If you just get on a call with me, let's talk and let's see if this group, this Discover You, what happens when you identify what fears you have, what your strengths are, and what's stopping you. What happens when you rewire that and get those out and actually can get into some healthy habits that lead you towards your why? So it's not that your why is not strong enough. It's not that you haven't done your work and discovered your why. It's those stories that are playing in your mind, those bad habits that are keeping you stuck because they're on automation and they no longer need to stop you. They no longer have that grip on you. They no longer, because you said they don't. Because we can work through that. We can identify them. And I'm telling you, it is crazy what happens when you start to see your own thoughts. When you recognize and then you take the power, be like, no, I get to control. I get to decide my thoughts. I get to have that thought and I get to change it. I'm not a slave to my thoughts anymore. And I get to change even the emotions that you have are different. So, friend, please get on my calendar. Email me, DM me. DM me is easier than email because email, I get a million a day from like spam. So if you DM me, get onto Facebook or Instagram at Tami Marie Coaching and just message and just say coaching or group or hope and let's talk. 20 minutes. And it's my gift to you. My gift to you to that 20 minutes, you'll see what's possible. Many people say that even in that 20 minutes, they start to change because it's the power of understanding, the power of identifying and recognizing what's stopping you. Okay, with that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you. Bye for now.